Hi everyone, back to my home turf today. Been a member here at Ealing for quite a few years now, what I thought we'd do is talk about what's going on here at Ealing. Ealing's been busy with projects over the years, and drainage has been high on the agenda, being in London on clay, 40 metres of clay underneath here, so it becomes a bit of an issue. So we've been going for 10 years, draining all the fairways, and now we're moving off that and coming on to playing areas, which we'll talk about in a minute. But before we go that route, just want to introduce Ollie Crompton, who's now course manager, took over from Wes a few months ago. So been a nice quiet period for you, Ollie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a baptism of fire, like I say, get straight into projects, and when I took over, we were straight into a maintenance week and that very hot spell that we all went through. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple of months, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, fairways have been drained, and what I find interesting with drainage is that, you know, golfers generally pick on a wet spot, and then when you deal with that wet spot, you really don't get thanked, you just then move to the next wet spot. So what was quite interesting here at Ealing is finishing off the fairways, and then golfers were starting to talk about non-playing areas. So this is what we call the first stripes, which is from the first tee, which is just behind going to the fairway, and over the last couple of winters this has been a real big issue, getting golfers from that tee to the fairway. So in my view, a positive, but at that stage it's been a negative for golfers. But if you just want to talk about what you've been doing here, Ollie.
Yeah, so we've been putting in land drainage, 770 metres in total, down to a depth of 350 mil. We go at that depth because our irrigation at Ealing's down at 450, so it saves us any risk and sort of danger of going through that. We then, here at Ealing, we backfill with the straight sand. As Greg said, being on heavy London clay, we found that gives us the best percolation rates and gives us the best results with the drainage that we've done.
Yeah, so I mean, 350 is seen as quite shallow, and it is shallow, but when we did our borehole here at Ealing 12 years ago, they went through 40 metres of clay to get into the aquifer, and then when you're going through 40 metres of London clay, you just realise actually nothing's going down, so everything's got to go sideways. So you know, when we looked at this, and irrigation was a main reason for that, because we've got fairway irrigation system, so if you had to go across that, you know, the amount of times you're going across that was multiple times. So yeah, we went shallow to move the water sideways. And one thing we have adapted over the last probably 5 years is that we started at 10 metre spacings, you know, trying to use the fall to get that water into the drainage lines, but you know, quite quickly we worked out that that's way too wide, especially on Ealing. The topography is very flat, so we've now gone to 5 metres maximum, but here on the first stripes you've got them at 3 metre spacing. So we've just found tighter, better, almost like a sand slit with a pipe at the bottom, because that sand's getting that water through the top layer into the pipe and then out. So yeah, that's the theory behind it. And then to back this up, what's going to be going on with aeration and sand? What's the next stage to this?
So yeah, for these walkway areas, and again this will be sort of a bit of a newish program at Ealing, we'll start top dressing and aerating these areas to really try and keep the turf quality there, the strength there through the winter, just so we're not getting these mud tracks basically. So yeah, trying to protect them with added top dressing and yeah, added aeration.
Okay, all right, we're going to go on and talk about the next project now, which is our tee levelling project. So yeah, we'll carry on with that. Right, so another project here at Ealing is the tee levelling project, and it's something that we've been looking at for a while, and a lot of courses as well, because I don't know if many golfers have noticed this, but tees I found have become really unlevel over the last few years, and I'm not sure whether it's just happened or it's something we accepted probably 5 years ago, but now we're not accepting. So here at Ealing it's become a big thing with a lot of camber in the tees, a lot of movement in the tees. So we've been looking at this for a few years, and this is the first phase, and we're going to be doing, you know, 11 tees across the golf course. But here on the 11th tee, for instance, we've got the back tee, which is okay, the middle tee which is getting done, and then the forward tee which isn't. So it's just one tee on the 11th hole with the other two. So this will be across the golf course. So it's quite a good, exciting project for us to do, because Tee conditioning is very good, no problem with growing grass and good quality grass, but the unevenness of the tees has been, you know, without doubt our biggest complaint. So we've got a company called Premier Turfing who are coming in to do this work, and Ollie's going to just talk us through the process of that.
Yeah, so they're basically stripping off the old turf. They're then coming in and ameliorating that ground, mixing in new sand with the root zone that's already there. So that's all getting mixed together. That's then being laser graded, so we're getting a really accurate sort of finish to the job, which will then be seeded into, fertilised, germination sheets applied, and we'll be growing them in over the next sort of 5 months. The goal being back in play for sort of mid-March time.
So yeah, we've gone seed, so that's quite a big move, but you know, especially doing it now, it's middle of August, middle of October now, so we've got a bit of a pressure period coming up. So, but do you want to talk about why we've gone seed over turf?
Yeah, so we last year we had some safety issues with the road on our 8th hole here at Ealing. Some of the wilder tee shots were heading over the road, so obviously quite a health and safety issue. So we looked at various options and we decided to effectively lower the existing tee, and in doing that it meant we had a couple options. Do we strip the old turf, reapply it, or do we go down a seed route? It was a new sort of project for all of us here at Ealing, something we hadn't done before. So we were actually building a new forward ladies tee. So we went down the seeding route with that, and then we turfed the back 2 tees. So from that experience, knowledge we've gained, ultimately the seeded tee recovered and has played a lot better. The strength of the turf has been a lot better. It's sort of handled wear and play a lot better compared to the replaced turf. So for this project, when me and Greg discussed it, it was a bit of a no-brainer for us to go down the seeding route. And to be honest, that's been the same feedback from the members. They've been sort of, they could also notice, you know, oh, those areas were turfed, that was seeded, which is better than the others. So yeah, we've been sort of fully supported with that decision.
Yeah.
So
I think the big worry, and that was why it was good to do that tee last year, because we did seed and we did turf, is that we got that turf back in, got that tee back in play within 3 to 4 weeks. We'd finished that at the end of October, and then you're straight back on that tee, whereas the seeded tee wasn't ready till mid-March, so a lot longer growing period, but the quality between the two now is chalk and cheese. And that's what I find a lot with a lot of tee construction going on, and greens teams and contractors getting forced into turf to turn around the tee project quickly, and it always opens very well, everyone's happy, but then you tend to get this downside 6, 12, 24 months later where you start losing sward density, the tee starts getting very weak. So I see that a lot in the off season, so that's why I was very keen to do that trial with Ollie, and you know, we've decided to go ahead with that. To speed up the operation, we're putting the germination sheet down.
yep.
So that'll be down for a couple of weeks. We're using dwarf rye. We're going at a high, you know, what I consider a high grams, 60 grams square metre instead of the traditional 30, 35. So we're trying to get, you know, that density there. And then the pressure's on, because we've guaranteed the members mid-March, haven't we?
Got a guarantee.
We've guaranteed the members mid-March. but we did do some good groundwork before that, because we've been upgrading our tee irrigation for 3 years now, and a tee like this had 2 sprinkler heads on, has now got 5. So that allows us to have more confidence of, you know, pushing on the new seed on the growing.
Yeah.
But we haven't actually started the growing yet, but just want to give a quick what the main things are going to be with the growing.
Yeah, so the main concerns for me, again, like Greg said, will be keeping enough water on. I know we're technically heading into winter, but it doesn't always mean it's going to get wet. So yeah, having good control over the water. Fertilising, we're going to be fertilising once every 8 to 10 days. Depending a little bit weather conditions, and then cutting as soon as I can. I'll be getting on, and yeah, we'll be cutting the turf at regular intervals, just to help stimulate the growth as well. I always feel you're sort of training the grass for how it's going to be cut later on in its life. So
Yeah,
that would be the process.
And we had this discussion, didn't we, this morning about, you know, I definitely feel we leave the turf too long. We don't get onto it quick enough. You know, 7 days, 10 days, get onto it, get that cylinder mower on, get that grass trained. If you leave it, and I feel like you know, sometimes turf guys are 1 to 2 weeks or 2 cuts out behind, and then it's a big push.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got everything prepped up, ready to get that mower on there.
Yeah, just a bit concerned to getting that. I think people know you leave it too long and you get that sort of soft, weak growth, and then the plant just never really recovers from that. So yeah, cutting it as early as possible will be is quite a key thing.
Yeah. Okay, all right, that's it really. Tea project. So yeah, another busy autumn coming up, Ollie.
Yeah, very busy.